So my cricket coach of 35 years, somebody who has years of experience in coaching cricketers, somebody who knows his cricket, knows his cricketers, was saying the other day, and he was asking his new wards, do fast bowlers have brains? And this is a common joke among cricketers about fast bowlers. There are many such. Another one that comes to my mind is that fast bowlers have their brains in their knees, and we've heard them so many times. What I'm trying to tell you is that we have classes in cricket too. The not so smart class and the smart class. The smart class does what smart classes do everywhere, which is basically do the jobs that everybody wants to do, the glory jobs, the glamour jobs, the powerful jobs. These belong to the batsmen. The not so smart classes in cricket also do what not so smart classes outside do, which is basically do a lot of hard work with little to show for it. Now, among the not so smart class in cricket, we also have a smart class. We have a class system there also. We have the spinners who are a little smarter than the fast bowlers, and for less effort and probably more intelligence, they seem to get a little better result. The lowest in this hierarchy of classes are the fast bowlers. Fast bowlers who somehow choose to do back-breaking, injury-prone work for very little to show. They're the working class of cricket, the laborer class of the cricket. Now let me put this into context. If this lecture hall was a representation of society, the front rows would be occupied by the smart classes. The last rows would be occupied by the sportsmen. And if the same lecture hall was again filled with sportsmen, fast bowlers would still occupy the last benches. We are the backbenchers of the backbenchers. So you get it. Fast bowlers are actually a little slow. They wouldn't be creative in that sense of the word. Now let me come to the other extreme, up to the front row of creativity. And here, our friends, the writers, would certainly belong. You would associate them with intelligence, with perception, with sensitivity, certainly the epitome of creativity. So many times people ask me why I chose a career option of writing, and that too after a not so successful stint as a fast bowler. I'm not trained to be a writer, and if you'd actually look at my training, I'm probably only trained to be a bouncer. Right? So what was I thinking really? When somebody asks me to think about it, it's scary. Why did I begin this long, slow crawl from the back benches and try to come to the front benches? Why risk being ridiculed? Why risk being called an imposter? Why is the fast bowler mingling with the writers? Why am I mixing up the classes? Right? And the only thing I have to say in my defense is that cricket, in all its generosity, taught me a couple of things about creativity. Now I must warn you ahead that this is a fast bowler's understanding of creativity. So it will be flawed, certainly. But it's a understanding on which my life is sailing, and maybe a couple of lives also. So let me share my understanding of cricket, and I owe this primarily to the fast bowlers of the world. Because there are many fast bowlers, and they go way beyond the backbenches, and we don't see them. And I believe all of them want to know what's the connection between this hard labor that we do, and if there is any connection at all between that and creativity. I believe that there are fast bowlers in our society, and they come in various shapes, various sizes, various colors, genders, different abilities, and to them, I owe this explanation or my understanding of creativity. So this understanding of creativity is this, that I find very little difference between hard labor and creativity. That after all the hard labor is done, a creative person will find a beautiful cherry to put on top of the icing. And that, I think, is the only difference. This pursuit of this beautiful outcome, this pursuit of this beautiful idea, of this big cherry to put on top of that. This pursuit of this cherry here, to me, is what I call purpose. And if I add purpose to hard labor, what is an act of effort becomes a creative act. Let me run you through my journey as a cricketer and how I realized this, that I can create also. In the beginning, of course, there was no creativity. I did not find any creativity in the game. I would show up at the field, I would work very hard, of course, and hope that something would happen. I never believed that I was good enough to create anything, that I could craft anything. In writing terms, it is akin to typing millions of words, random words, without direction or without purpose, and expecting a bestseller to emerge. Now, we've seen bestsellers like that too, right? But I wouldn't call them beautiful outcomes. I wouldn't call them these beautiful cherries that are on top of the icing. It's just hard labor. My purposeless, my directionless effort, what did it get me? Constant, repeated failure. I failed several times. My team lost several times. It's a very painful process, and I don't want to go further into it. But I waited for a very long time. Fast bowlers are very patient people. And I waited for outcomes to change by themselves. I waited for the stars to align, for my luck to change. I would also look at the batsmen and spinners who were supposedly more intelligent and better at me than this. And I hoped that they would change the outcomes for me. And then one day I realized that nobody is going to change outcomes for me. And that day I decided enough. No more waiting, no more hoping somebody would come and save my life. That was the first lesson in creativity that cricket taught me. And what did I create? I decided to create a win. And it's a huge thing. This decision, each time that I take this decision, I am able to create more possibilities. Each time there are new possibilities. And this decision becomes the first creative spark that can light a fire behind it. Now let's not confuse this decision, this one moment of inspiration, with these flashes of brilliance that we normally associate creativity with. If you think I got a flash of brilliance and decided that I will create a win, I would say you're mistaken, because I think this decision was the outcome of all those years of pain, of frustration, of even humiliation that I suffered all these years, and somehow hoping that I will find a way out of that. And all those years pushed me past my comfort zone slowly and allowed me to find this decision to create. This is what I believe you call unshell. To take that decision, of course, is not easy. It requires a lot of courage. So would creativity be about courage? I would say yes. Creativity requires a lot of courage, because you need a lot of clarity to see the outcome, to see the beautiful outcome that you really want to achieve. What this one idea did was that it changed my entire outlook on life. This one idea that I could create the fast bowler, could create a win. I could override the batsmen and the spinners. What it did was that it shifted me from the space of a victim into the space of a creator. What was until then outside the realm of my consciousness was now within. And strangely, this added responsibility actually gave me a lot more freedom. Because you would think that typically responsibility would tie you down. But this thought that I could create a win actually allowed me to go past my role of a fast bowler. I was now free to score 100. I was now free to score a double 100, a triple 100. I was free to take all 10 wickets, all 10 catches, get all 10 run-outs, do anything but to create the win. And it's a very freeing thought. Now that the thought was in place, the hard labor had to come in. And this is something we cannot avoid if you want these beautiful outcomes. And I realized that if you want to create these big wins, you need a lot of small wins. You need that little extra run. You need to stop one extra run. You need to take that catch. You need to get that one run out. You can't for a moment relax. Creativity then, I realized, is about thinking way ahead of the game. It is about preparing in such a way that there is no room for second chances. It is about taking complete responsibility. It is about tilling the entire field of possibilities. You cannot let anything go. Not even that 1%. Even though it may seem like meaningless work, because in that 1%, perhaps your big idea or your big cherry will pop up. On that day, when I decided that I had enough, that day I went and scored a huge 100, and I am a fast bowler. I bat number 10 for my team. I scored a huge 100 and helped my varsity team to win that match. And the beauty of it was that I knew that I created that win. And it's such a beautiful outcome. So favorable outcomes can be created by deciding, by adding purpose. It is not about a fast bowler. It's not about class. It's about that decision. So having this theory in my mind, I made the next decision, which is basically quit a secure job and take up a career as a writer, about which I knew nothing about. No wonder my coach has these ideas about fast bowlers. But then, very soon I realized that fast bowling and writing are pretty much the same. Again, there's a lot of hard labor involved. And anyway, there's a fast bowler's soul attached to the writer's soul, and a writer's soul attached to the fast bowler's soul. So I approached creativity in exactly the same way that I knew. And I worked very hard at it. The one thing I realized was that the harder I worked, the better my work got. The more ideas I could conceive, the better the quality of ideas became. A lot of small ideas started coming together, forming a bigger idea. The quest for the big idea, the quest for the big cherry is still on. The second lesson in creativity that cricket taught me, and for this, I'm very grateful to my friends, the batsmen and the spinners, because they taught me that more could be achieved with less. That things can be done far more elegantly, efficiently, and easily. So when you see great batsmen, we realize that they're not bludgeoning the ball. They're caressing it, they're timing it, they're waiting for it. The great bowlers glide in with effortless actions in both thunderbolts. Great fielders make fielding look so easy. They're receiving the ball. They're not grabbing the ball. It's so beautiful, it's so graceful. and you realize that there is no violence in this whole act. They all seem to have this one master key that seems to unlock a lot of these little locks that come in our way of hard work, technique, even fear. And I call this master key love. So if the first lesson was about creating beautiful outcomes by adding purpose to hard work, the second lesson was about adding love to hard work and making things more efficient. Now, how do I add purpose? Is a question that anyone may ask. And I think that you have to visualize this beautiful outcome ahead when you start your effort and work towards it. How do I add love? Very simply by not fighting with the environment, by merging with the environment and making everything work for you. And this is what the great cricketers do. The quest then for this big cherry is not about forcing things. It is about being patient, it is about waiting, it is about allowing things to develop. And I realize I can take this same thing to writing also, that more can be said with less. In fact, many times when you don't say anything, it is better that in the unsaid, a lot is said. But writing simply is not so simple. It requires a lot of clarity and hard work. This then is a fast bowler's or cricketer's understanding of creativity, of writing. Creativity, as I found, is about creating these many options. Most of them seemingly meaningless labor. But then, among these thousands of deliveries that the fast bowler bowls, or these lakhs of words that we write, if we understand the essence of creativity, I will add a little purpose, I will add a little love, and when it matters most, maybe I will hold one delivery back. Maybe I will have the courage to pitch one delivery ahead. And by doing so, I might create the outcome that I so desire. This big idea or this big cherry that I'm looking for. And in a moment when perhaps I'd least expect it, I might even slip a delivery under the bat and get the result I want, clean bowled.